Yo! It's Jabba. 3.7 Spiral Up Bussy. I know I'm a little bit late to the party, but this floor 12 for Spiral Abyss was definitely very difficult for me, and it still is difficult for a lot of people, with the enemies with huge HP pools, then pulling the Uno reverse card on you and permafreezing you instead of you permafreezing them, having a lot of stagger capabilities, etc., etc. It is definitely a little bit difficult, and the team comps are a lot more restrictive in terms of what you can use to be able to deal with all enemies, being able to get all of them in one run instead of swapping around your team comps. I don't personally like to swap around my team comps during runs, so I figured out a couple teams that are reasonably accessible to be able to get the full 9 stars on this floor 12. So let's go ahead and get started. First step I have for floor 12 is to let them come to you. The enemies in these chambers tend to be a little bit aggressive, either that or they have teleportation abilities or movement abilities, so it's a lot easier to allow the enemies to come towards you and to be able to bait them, to be able to get a better grouping and to be able to take them all at once, especially on 12-1 Chamber 1, where you have 4 waves of enemies, each consisting of 3 of them. Second tip I have for you is to use those elemental bursts not just for iframes, but also to stagger the enemies. Upon activation, certain elemental bursts have a certain amount of what I like to call force. That's a term used for Mass Effect. It's a number calculated in newtons that is able to stagger certain enemies in that game. With the amount of force that certain elemental bursts have, the enemies will be staggered back. A good example that you'll see in the gameplay is Bennett's elemental burst or Xingqiu's elemental burst. Sometimes Zhongli can do it too, and as well as Raiden Shogun. The third and I guess fourth tip I have, these two kind of go hand in hand, is to study enemy attack patterns, whether that be by running the chamber over and over again or by just actively studying their patterns while you're actually fighting them. And the second will be learning target priority and which targets to actually go for first. This can come in many different forms, and these can come for many different reasons. Now, what does the former mean? Learn the enemy's attack patterns or study them. What this means essentially is to learn which attacks the enemy has that can stagger you or even one-shot you regardless of whether or not you're being actively healed, or it can one-shot your shield if you elect not to run a healer on your team. All attacks are extremely telegraphed and have a reasonably long wind-up, so that should give you an opportunity to either dodge, iframe, or even possibly stagger the enemies before they even get a chance to hit you. The second, target prioritization, is, to me, a little bit easier to comprehend and a little bit easier to practice because you basically pick and choose which enemies you want to fight first. A great example is floor 12 Chamber 1, floor 12 Chamber 3 first half, and you basically want to stand next to the blue consecrated beast and constantly attack that one because the green one will always come to you, and it has very few long-range options, while the blue one has very, very high damage long-range options and can just bombard you from far away. Alrighty, now let's move into team comps. First team I'm going to be using for first half of Chamber 12 is going to be a Raiden Aggravate team consisting of Zhongli, Raiden Shogun, Dendro MC, and Kazuha. Here are the builds, pause if needed. The team that I'm going to be using on second half will be a Nahida National consisting of Xiangling, Bennett, Xingqiu, as well as Nahida. This will give me the ability to basically trigger Burgeon every now and then, even though that is not the main priority of the damage. The main damage source will obviously be Xiangling and Xingqiu, the combination that is very, very common within Spiral Abyss runs. Here are the builds, pause if needed. One little thing I wanted to add is you can actually swap out Xiangling for Toma. Now this will actually change your team comp into a Burgeon priority team. Toma on a full EM build can actually do very, very well at detonating Bloom Seeds to trigger the Burgeon reaction, and he can actually do a lot of damage. I found some pretty decent success with him all the way up until floor 12, chamber 3. On the second half, it was just the fact that I do have a C6 Bennett, and I found that he does actually apply Pyro a little bit too quickly due to the Pyro infusion from the Constellation 6 Elemental Burst. Alrighty, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and show this full 9-star clear. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Go ahead and subscribe for more content just like this, as well as some fun Devil May Cry content mainly. And if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button.
Don't you think we could be different? We could just take it slow, let it go. Don't know still the wind, I should take a cool, don't you know? All I really wanna be is a connected high. You and I, pinnacle, quite magnified. Show me yours, I'll show you mine. You don't have to pretend we're shy. Let's forget the 9 to 5. I just wanna feel alive. Take it slow, let it go. Roll down all the windows. Don't you wish we could be out of sight, out of mind? Take my hand, don't go so I'm chasing the afterglow. Dance with me while the beat finally got some clarity. Don't you know all I ever really wanna be is a connected high. You and I, pinnacle magnified. Show me yours, I'll show you mine. You don't have to pretend we're shy. Let's forget the water tide, turn it up to overdrive. Take it slow, let it go, roll down all the windows. Show me yours, I'll show you mine. You don't have to pretend you're shy. Take it slow, let it go. Let's take a trip to uptown. Don't you wish we could be out of sight, out of mind? Take my hand, don't go slow. I'm chasing the afterglow. Dance with me while the scene finally got some clarity. Don't you know all I ever really wanna be is a connected high. You and I, being so magnified. Show me yours, I'll show you mine. You don't have to pretend we're shy. Let's forget the water tide, turn it up to overdrive. Take it slow, let it go. Look down all the windows.
Where am I going now? Just falling over dreams. Now I'm just so far gone, this isn't what it seems. Taking me so damn long, it's fading from belief. I need to slow this down, it's burning from beneath.